Hi there, everyone. This is Dr. Schroeder with a video introduction, a little bit of a belated video introduction this week to week number 6 of our course in healthcare research. And once again, week 5, a very nice week of discussion. You've had a busy week this week. You were busy completing and hopefully submitting your quantitative critique. I will be reviewing those, and you'll have feedback on those. I would assume no later than Friday this week. I think that probably, I don't know that, I'm recording this on Wednesday. I've been at a retreat in a conference for the last couple of days, so I've had really poor internet access and wasn't able to get off a video. Just been able to monitor the class and handle any issues that have been coming up. But your critiques, you should have those feedback, I'm assuming by Friday probably. For this week's discussion, again, a very nice discussion. And this discussion question always brings up a lot of discussion, not really so much on the focus of research, but there's a lot of talk, and students really like to talk about the concept of the nursing ratios. And that does have a little bit of a side benefit, or a little bit of a crossover into nursing research, because of course the entire idea of nursing ratios, are they a good idea or not? The whole idea is that we have to really show that there's some evidence to show that that is a valid concept, or that this is something that really truly does show outcomes. The study that we use in this course is a relatively old study from the 1990s. The Aiken study was somewhat of a seminal study of its time, done more or less in response to, or if not in response to, it was contemporary with studies that were going on in California that were occurring, because at the time California was developing its own California nurse ratio laws, and in some ways is still struggling with that. And a really good discussion this week, some information that I had not, was not aware. The initiatives in Illinois, I'd like to give credit, and I just don't remember which student it was that initially posted that, but very good information, talking about acuity. And even the idea of acuity and patient acuity is very much a quantitative construct. It's a statistical construct, coming up with a numerical value to try to assess what a workload is, or how much care a patient is going to require. That takes research, and it takes research principles. So all of these things surrounding nursing ratio really kind of comes down to research and the quality of research that we do. To answer some of the questions specifically, the question of, really the focus of the discussion questions this week was on the sampling techniques. And one of the things that makes this particular study unique is it used a very large sample. And actually the target population was fairly well defined. The target population was all the nurses that were currently practicing in the state of Pennsylvania. And the researchers did use a probability sample. The probability sample means that they took a portion, 50% of those registered nurses. They did not fully describe within the study exactly what their sampling process was. But typically in a study like this, they probably just had either, there's usually a couple ways that it's done. One is that they'll get a list of nursing license numbers, and everybody that's 0 through 5 is in one group, and everybody 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess 0 through 4 is in one group, and then 5 through 9 would be another group. So you have 2 evenly spaced groups, and you just eliminate one of them. Which means that your license number may have been what determined whether you were going to be in that, being asked to participate in the study or not. That's probably about the most random way to do it. You could also do it by alphabetical order, where you just have a list in alphabetical order and you just cut it in the middle. You can also just have a random generator that just spits out random names, but even a random generator uses some sort of an algorithm. So the idea is that you're trying to get as random a sample as you want, but it's still a probability sample, because it wasn't just sent out to here. We're just going to go ahead and open this up to every nurse. So it had some aspects of both a probability and a random sampling process as well. And of course, there were exclusion criteria trying to get that the purest sample that they could to try to really demonstrate what the outcomes were, true outcomes were between the patients that were being cared for and the nurses. And then the qualitative data from the nurses was measured quantitatively. In other words, they used surveys to come up with a burnout ratio, essentially, or a burnout tool, I guess I could call it, to try to show that there was sort of this direct correlation. Now remember, correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. We can't say, based on the results of this study, that higher patient outcomes come out of higher quality or more nurses working in a particular unit, but there is a correlation that way. It did show that there was a correlation between nurse satisfaction as well. There's a lot of information in this particular study, and that was really the idea. The study, again, like a lot of studies, was not meant so much to answer a lot of questions so much as it was to generate new questions. And then subsequent studies, and many of you pointed out that there's been subsequent studies that have been a little bit more focused and have drawn a little bit more of a correlation. And that's really what and a cause-effect correlation. And that's really what the process of research is. Remember, no one study is really meant to prove anything. It's more what do a series of studies over a period of time done in different areas. What are they, what does the body of the evidence show? Not just one study. One study doesn't really prove too much. The generalizability of the study is really more left up to the consumer or the reader of the study. Generalizability, the most generalizable population, of course, would be nurses working in Pennsylvania. But you could also generalize these study results to possibly include surrounding states, other states with a demographic and with an economic makeup and hospital makeup similar to Pennsylvania. It's really up to the person that's reading the study to say, is this generalizable for me? I mean, do these results work for my particular population? Sometimes a reviewer or an author will give hints as to what the generalizability might be, but ultimately it's really for the person reading the study to say, does this study data fit my particular situation, and can I generalize it to my particular, situation or my particular data that I'm interested in? So again, very deep discussion, and that takes us into week number 6. And week number 6, we're going to switch gears here a little bit and focus on qualitative data and qualitative studies. Qualitative studies are a much different animal than the statistical, quantitative, deductive kind of studies that we've been reviewing primarily up to this point. A qualitative study is meant to identify new knowledge, to identify new factors in the human experience that maybe we haven't identified before or haven't really been fleshed out. And so we're going to be looking at a qualitative study. The study we're going to be looking at, the Lin study, is a study of a specific population of Taiwanese patients. It's a phenomenological study, meaning it's looking at the phenomenon of these patients' lives. What is their lived experience like? And so we're going to talk about that and talk about what the benefits of this type of study and what the limitations of a study like this are. And we're going to be focusing on this particular study for the next couple weeks. And then, of course, this week you should also be starting your qualitative critique. Qualitative critique, very much like your quantitative critique, in that it's laid out in the way that it is scored and developed. Again, as you probably found with your first critique, it takes a while to get those done. It looks simpler than it really is, so be prepared to spend a little bit of time with it. And as you have questions, go ahead and let me know. As always, I look forward to participating in class along with you and to answering questions and kind of giving my own insights. I look forward to participating in class. I look forward to seeing you there, and we'll see you in the discussion forums.